Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and I've got a cover song for you that we're going to cover today. So we're covering a cover song. This is written by a band called Roux, and if the actual Google translation was correct, it means red, or would be more appropriately the red. That just doesn't seem right to me. But in any case, I don't know the band. I've never heard of them before until I started putting this show together. This was written by, and this is going to be weird for a minute for you Price is Right fans, Rod Roddy, Leon Medica, Fergie Friedrichsen, and Tony Hazelden. Now, I'm going to take a wild guess at this, and that this Rod Roddy is not the same as the Rod Roddy from The Price is Right. I don't think, at least not as far as I know, he was ever in a band. I've never watched a biography on the man, but I'm guessing it's probably not the same Rod Roddy. What would the chances be? But this band released the song, their original version, on an album called So Fired Up in 1983, and Uriah Heep covered it on Raging Silence in 1989. So, it hadn't been out for a whole lot of time, but it was something that people could have been very familiar with at the time. I just don't happen to have known the band. I've never heard of them before. But, that's part of the fun for me doing these cover songs is I really don't know how much is the original song and how much is Heep, what they changed. And I can really just look at it as, this song that I'm being presented or that I'm presenting to you guys. And it comes in at just under 5 minutes. So let's dig right into it. Here it is, Lifeline. That's a pretty cool build for an intro, I have to say. Just starting with the keyboards in the beginning and that flange on them, that sounded pretty good. I like that. I like just that we're just setting the pulse for the song. We're not doing anything that's giving anything away just yet. We're just laying that bass. I love that. And then, the drums coming in the way that they do, they really don't give you a sense of what the beat is for sure until the end. It's kind of like it just touches on the beat. It's playing, I'll give you this and I'll give you that, but not really giving you the whole thing. That is a pretty cool idea too. I really like that. And then of course, once everything kicks in, huge guitar sound, absolutely love that. And bass comes in just nice and solid, but that is a really nice build. I really like the way they did that. And again, don't know if that was the original or not, but just from what I'm hearing right now in this version, I can say that was fantastic. And the sound is really good too. Everything's coming through very clearly.
Well, I'm not superstitious, but there's something going on inside. Could be friendly, could be vicious, and there isn't any place to hide.
Why, Bernie sounds great on this, but I love the placement of the words. I think it's really unique, kind of just throws it off, almost like the way the drums were doing in the intro, but always comes back and lands where it's supposed to be. That's pretty nice. Also, the bass sounds really spectacular on this too. Nice and rich, good thick sound. This is a really good sounding song so far.
It's my imagination, a blessing or a curse. No, I can't ignore it, for better or for worse. It wakes me when I'm sleeping, a peace that takes my breath away.
I really like the way the drums keep teasing that they're going to go faster and they don't. Like they give us that first snare note that we would normally hear and then the one right after it. And that gives you the feeling that, oh, okay, well, the drums are going to go double time now, but they don't. And that's a really cool tease each time. I like that. I like the fact that the drums just feel kind of varied, that there's not an actual beat. It's more of a tempo with a, with a snare accent, but it's really interesting, this song. There's some really cool layers going on there. There's a part where Mick is playing along with the bass and drums. There's a little fill in the right ear from the keyboards. Just a lot of dynamics going on here. It's really impressive. And it very much fits this band. And again, I don't know the original song, but I can say that this version is very heavy sounding. I mean, this whole album has a really good heavy edge to it, to be honest. But, listening to this, there's just some really great layers. I think that drum sound is just heavier in this song than it seems like it is on some of the other songs. And that might, again, not have anything to do with the drums. It could be the way that the music is structured in the other instruments that brings the drums out a little bit more, because it can go either way. But either way, it sounds killer. Even somehow the guitar sounds heavier on this too. I'm hearing a really just powerful rhythm in my right ear, and then slightly to my left side, I'm hearing these nice little, fill-ins from Mick that just have like a really a fast vibrato to them. Sounds really good, but it really fills in that empty space very quickly. I noticed too that especially just in this last pass, the bass is very prominent in the mix, and it's just slightly to my right, sits right next to where I'm hearing the snare. But it's amazing. The song just sounds like it has so much more depth. So I don't know if this was mixed at a different time or this was mixed for a release of some kind, but it feels bigger. Like the sound is just bigger on this song than what I've heard on the rest of the album. And I've been pretty happy overall with the sound on the album, but there's just something about this song that just seems so much bigger. I have some really nice synth playing in my right ear from Phil Lanzon. It really sounds like it might be a string pad. I'm not sure, but it does definitely have a richness to it, but it's really far to the right. So they're really doing a lot more panning in this song than we've heard as of late. And that obviously makes me happy, because that's the one thing that has been a fairly, constant thorn in my side listening to these songs, is that I'm not particularly pleased with the way that they've been panned. But this is a contrast to that, and this really shows you the depth of why that's important. So if you guys are listening in stereo and not like a dual mono, then you'll hear what I'm talking about. But the song definitely sounds rich. It has a lot of depth. I feel like this kind of part, though, which is so powerful, it kind of reminds me, not from a musical standpoint, but just from like an intensity standpoint, it really reminds me of Stargazer by Rainbow. It has a lot of layers. There's a lot of things going on. I feel like you could take a part like this and just repeat it for a good 2 minutes while the song's fading out, and just add and remove different things and really just make it sound epic, because this chorus just sounds so huge, especially with the brass synth we have that's kind of cutting through and attacking a little bit, the powerful guitar. I mean, it just sounds really big and heavy. And it's rich and full, and it has that epic feel to me that Stargazer does. Because that song, I don't think it would have been easy to fit too many more sounds into that song. I mean, it's peaked with layers. And I kind of feel like this is the same way, which is really a compliment, because it's not easy to make music sound that big. Okay, I just got to stop it here, because that was, first of all, a killer solo. But listening to the music around it, first of all, we can really hear things because they've opened it up for us to be able to hear it. But you've got some keyboards being played in the right. You've got Mick just left of center. You've got bass just cutting through, playing some really interesting stuff. You got drums sounding huge. I mean, it's just a very supportive section. And it sounds just huge and full and really allowed Mick to cut through. But I love Mick's sound on this song. I don't know if he did something a little bit different to it, or if maybe it's just popping a little bit more in the mix. But there is just something really amazing about the sound that he's getting on this song, and definitely leaves room for a killer solo like he just played. So anyway, back to the song. What a powerful and passionate vocal performance here, too, from Bernie. I mean, I really feel a sense of desperation, like he really in real life needs that lifeline. And that is the beauty of a talented singer, somebody who can sing the story in a way that makes us feel it's not just a bunch of words somebody wrote down that kind of rhymed or fit together. I mean, it's really an event that is a real event that's happening right now. And it's not just a story that he's recalling from his memory and telling to us. It's like he's in that moment right now, like he's experiencing as we're hearing the events unfold. And I love that, because there's watching after, there's hearing retold tales, and those are fine, but there's something magical about a powerful song that takes you into the moment with the band, with the singer, and feels like you're there with this struggle and journey. And I think they're nailing this, and again, I don't know how much of this is the original version versus how much of this is Heep. But what I can tell you is that what we're hearing is Heep's delivery of it. So regardless of, even if they're just, copying it 100%, they're still delivering a solid performance here. So regardless of how the original song was written or constructed, I'm going to say that Uriah Heep is doing it justice, just because of what I'm hearing is just powerful, and I love it. There's a lot of layers going on from a keyboard perspective too. So I want to give some credit to Phil here, because he's filling in those, what sounds like strings a little bit in the very right ear. There's another melody going on that I can't tell if it's on a piano or like an electric piano or just a synth. It's buried in there a little bit, but I can hear it, but I can't really hear the definition of it. So that's going on. And then there's at least one other layer that I'm hearing in there. And it's part of what is making this song sound so huge. And I've talked about so many times those little fill-ins that make such a difference. And even though the strings are in a low note, they really come through if you're hearing that in your right ear the way that I am. And they're very far off to the side. So that adds a little bit of depth to the mix as well. Wow, what a stunning performance on this song. And as that last part opened up a little bit, you could hear a little more of what Phil was doing as the vocals dropped back and just became supportive again. And this is exactly what I mean about this song could be, a couple minutes just of a long fade out, just going crazy. And they kind of did that here. I could have used another minute of it for sure, but it had a lot of energy, a lot of power, just a lot of, I don't even know what the word is. Passion doesn't really seem to be enough. It's just, blistering all out performance. And I really like that. And there's something too, I realized as we were listening to that last part that I was kind of narrowing in earlier, but interestingly, as my comparison to Stargazer, there's just that da, and then it drops down to da, then back up and then back down and back up and back down to just those two, levels of sound. But this one did the same thing. It didn't go down quite as much as Stargazer does, but it stayed, just below where the main line was. Then it drops down a little bit, comes back up to the main line, drops back down a little bit. So maybe there's something about that combination of sounds, just like maybe they're playing a third and they drop down to the one, and then back up to the third and then down to the one again. I don't know. I haven't really analyzed the notes themselves, and I've never been good at just knowing what a note is by hearing it, but because I'm a drummer. But I will say that it has that same kind of feel as Stargazer. It has the same construction. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's why I feel like it could go on for a long time, because as I'm thinking of other songs that I felt that same way about, that it's kind of like just a party at the end, that I just want to keep going even though the sun's going down, that being the fade. Now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of those songs have that same structure. So maybe there's just something to that structure. I don't know. But either way, cover or not, this is a fantastic performance. Very powerful, very energetic. Definitely want more of it myself. So great job. Great job. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this song as much as I have. I would say that this is heading to the top of my favorites list very quickly. But another thing, too, is that we're really starting to see where the current band has started to emerge from. Very powerful, very guitar oriented with some great keyboards, but very heavy distortion. And this is a lot of just power and change from what they've been, especially over the last few albums. So I really like it. And of course, I love where they're at now. So seeing this progression heading towards that obviously just makes me happy to enjoy that ride. And I hope you guys are too. So that's the show for today, guys. I hope you have a fantastic day. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!